Hey, welcome
Okay.
back, everybody. This is the COGs Docs at COGs Musings. Dr. Mike Martin, Dr. Terrence McCullough, and myself, Dr. Brad Robinson. We are here to just share our experiences and hopefully it'll help you grow your practice into the practice of your dreams. Um, Last week, or last time we spoke, we touched on a subject called being transformational versus transactional. And I think we all agree that we see that chiropractic is becoming more transactional than transformational, and we want to touch base on that today and expand on that and get your guys' thoughts. When we say that, Mike, Dr. Mike, what do you think, first off?
It's interesting when we talked last time. I don't know who said it. I believe it was you, Brad. It kind of it hit me because I never really thought of it that way. Um, I guess it was kind of obvious when you said it. What did I think? Um, I thought that a lot of the times when we're talking about the young chiropractors that are focusing on seeing less people making more money, it's obvious that that's transactional to me, right? I never thought chiropractic was transactional. I thought it was always thought of it as transformational. So I'm a little bit behind, honestly. After 40 years, I mean, it kind of sets me back on my heels a little bit to to see something so blatantly obvious, you know. Um, I'm a little I don't know what I want to say. Disappointed. I don't know. To be affronted like that, it's in this profession, it's such a late point in my life. And to think that we become transactional, it hurts a little bit, I guess. I don't know. So, I started looking at, when I start looking at the definition or transactional versus transformational, the only stuff that I could find that laid it out was about leadership, right? And that's pretty obvious. Did you guys look at it at all?
Which one?
Online? I mean, if you type in
Oh,
transactional
sure.
versus transformational, everything that
Right.
comes up is in regards to the leadership. But if you go and look at it and just make it fit for taking care of patients, it fits. So where am I going with this? Um,
Well, in the leadership world, yeah, there's, like a couple good books, Servant Leadership and Leader Shift was another one.
hmm.
Uh, and when you read about most of these leaders that create the culture or the environment, it oftentimes is very difficult for when and I've seen it read this many times when they leave the company falters. It doesn't necessarily fail, but it falters because they lose that leader who's thinking and creating that environment that way versus a quote a business and again sometimes reverse engineering saying, oh well, I built the business this way versus the culture and the environment that you've created. And so in chiropractic, I think that it's the evolution in healthcare in general. It started with medicine and the hospitals, what, maybe 50 years ago, when all the hospitals started to shift from being owned by mostly Catholic and or religious, right,
Organizations, yeah.
organizations, which in turn they were led. So that at the top was that goal of service, right? Not money. And then the doctors were in charge. They were in all the key positions. It wasn't until they brought in the uh, MBAs to run it based on numbers, not on uh, transformation or healing and those sorts of things. And then I would say the next shift was in dentistry, in the early 80s when they shifted to more MBAs coming in and they got consultants on how to make more money, right? It became case basis and that sort of thing. And we've kind of followed suit in arriving in basing things on money and number, so we see
Numbers, Right?
yeah, numbers
Numbers.
versus transformation. And the same thing,
Yeah.
when I talk about that. So chiropractic, it's, well, where, where else, what other areas are you um, approaching it this way? So, think of, marriage and people postponing things now that they're, literally making lists of what, it's a transaction of, well, here's what I want in a person. Uh, they need these qualities. They need to be right. As
Yeah, I do
opposed
see
to,
that.
you just fall in love and you, right, uh, want to be with that person. So, same thing in practice. It's, it can and should be I think, a evolution. And you come out of school and you can be raw on both. I want to serve and I got to make a living, and, merging, working to merge those two things over your entire career.
So,
But most people seem to lose it really quickly. And I wrote down, I can remember in the group I'm in, and these people have long since left, that they're come out of it and want to be transformational, and then the hardness of practice will just say that, and they hear about somebody else, quote, making more money or
yeah.
whatever, and next thing you know, that those terrible words, well, I'm going to get mine. Now I'm
Yeah.
going to get mine. And I've
Mm.
heard that a lot,
Okay.
in people, and then now you add to it the debt that they're putting the students in order to practice. And it's both sides. They feel like they've got to get theirs right away. And then
It's
then when
survival, right? Yeah.
correct, and then you hear the docs, who, that we eat our young, right? That all docs are terrible bosses and just want to, it's kind of both ways, I guess. It's
Yeah.
nobody's being transformational in their, but like you guys, were in your associate, trying to be good associates, and also in having associates that you were like trying to lead them transformationally and keep the transaction to a minimum, right? Yes, I'm going to pay you fairly. Yes, here's a bonus. Yes, but I'm going to be heavy on, I'm trying to transform you into a uh, really good chiropractor,
Mm.
um, and so again, it's kind of how you come into all those relationships with it. And
Okay.
that's where it's, we see the lack of connection, people going to, only showing Instagram, their best moments, right? Blah, blah. It just keeps coming. So everything's likes and transactions versus
Sure.
how can I transform you?
So when I think of transformational versus transactional, I think of that, what drove us to be chiropractors in the first place is that we found a healthcare system that resonated with us, and we were on the outside looking in, and we were always the alternative, the so far away from mainstream. We had to convince people that being under regular chiropractic care for the rest of their lives is a good thing for them. So we had to spend a lot of our time teaching and inspiring and engaging those our patients or practice members, whatever you call them, to choose chiropractic as a lifetime healing process. What I see now is becoming more of a system where people are looking for drug-free pain relief, drug-free treatment. Whereas in our day, when we first started, that was part of it, but we had to shift people towards that lifetime care. And the beauty of that is if you do, you become the patient's primary care provider. They come to you asking you questions about what they should do as far as their health care goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is where it becomes transformational. But you have to have people under care long enough for them to trust you to do that. If you're all you're doing is having $200 visits to have someone lose weight or to get rid of their pain or follow a certain protocol, we're losing that because people can't afford to stay under care like that. And I remember a long time ago, I learned that um, your care has to be profitable for you, but also has to be affordable for you to get the families in. How many families can come in at $100, $200 a visit? It's impossible, or it's only for a select few. So it's incumbent upon us to, if we really want to to transform the world, that everybody should be under chiropractic care, is we have to make it affordable for them. And I remember Dr. Sid used to say, don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. He's talking about don't let your service hand let your business hand know what you're doing and vice versa. But you have to have both, because if you don't run it as a business, you won't be in business very long. So it
So
has to be a balance between the two. And
yeah,
it's
it's interesting you say that because when I started looking at the difference or really thinking about the difference between transactional and transformational, transactional chiropractor, when a patient comes in, it's a I'm broke, you fix me mentality. You start managing symptoms for a fee or getting rid of symptoms for a fee. Whereas in my office, my goal was to make the patient responsible for their own health care and try to forget about the symptomology, right? That's was the basis between the two. Symptom management and patient managing their health. And really one is task oriented. Look, I'm going to adjust you, give you exercises, ABC 1, 2, 3, right? And you should get better and you're going to pay me for that. And then on my side is I'm going to teach you that you heal from above down, inside out. And your body is self-healing, and we're going to figure out how to get that to do that. And one's very mechanistic. We're gonna do this so you feel better now. The other one is more vitalistic, whereas we're going to do this now so that you can live longer, be better. What did your son say to me once, Brad? I want you to better feel than feel better, right? Um, but what I realized when I was looking through all this, that as a transformational chiropractor, I better have the ability that the transactional chiropractors have. You were just talking about this, Brad. I better have good policy and procedure. My right hand better be as good as my left hand, right?
correct.
And so what's the bridge between those two things? Is it because you got to be both in order to be really successful. You do. You got to get paid for what you're doing, right? Even though and certainly if you want to see a lot of people and your fee is a little bit lower, you better be really damn good at the transactional stuff, right? Or hire somebody or keep tabs of it. So what's the bridge between the two then? Is it vision? I think some people would say it's vision, other people in other professions. We'll say that the difference is our principle, right? Or philosophy. That's the bridge between the two. And I think these young guys that come out of school huge in debt, a school that doesn't concentrate on that, it's really easy that for them to go to the transactional side to make the money because they don't have the core value in chiropractic that we do.
Correct.
So so it's an age-old question. How do we get them to that, right? Because if they continue to be transactional, they are diluting what we do. They don't want to use the word subluxation. They don't want to x-ray. Um, all the things that we talk about all the time. So that's a big fix, right? That's a big ask to fix.
Well, the bridge between the two and the end, and Brad, what you were saying about we were outliers, and is it's the our chiropractic was built on single doc practices, and that doc was leading his practice
Hmm.
because chiropractors went into working with patients to have a relationship, right? To really care for them, so the verbiage we used and thus trying to transform them. And I always remember my dad said he wasn't surprised that people got well. He was surprised at how long it took. So then it became inherent. If it takes time, then you have to have a relationship and build that trust.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and to bring it back to what you said, Mike, you have to be a leader to transform that. Even like in any business, like I said earlier, that whole team or that whole office or that whole entity
You
into
have to
that.
build a relationship. Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So that's what the real leaders are doing. So the practices used to be individually led. And if you look at any of these practices that try to
So,
make a multi doc or um, other locations, or say, oh, it's just these scripts, it's just these things, without the leader, they never come back to it, because they're not able to duplicate that as well, because it's the person. So I go back to what we've talked about. The philosophy of chiropractic is for the doctor, not
yes.
for the patient. You have to transform yourself and understand those things in order to lead those patients who may or may not ever understand what a subluxation is.
Most won't.
Like your uncle said,
Yeah.
submarine, a submarine,
Yeah.
uh, but they
You get
trust you and you have a relationship and you're leading them. But
so
everything in business now in chiropractic is not a, is, you know,
what's
uh,
that relationship? Let me ask you a question real quick. What is that relationship built upon between doctor and patient?
trust.
Trust in,
Well, ultimately, it's the trust in the doctor, right? The
in yeah.
confidence, clarity, conviction. How do you get that confidence and clarity, conviction? Well, you study your science, your art, your philosophy, and then you're able to deliver it, right? You
Yeah.
know, and the old, and then stick with it. Say it, even if your voice is trembling, right? Tell the truth. It's going to take time, or this is, I'm not surprised by that. It's better, great. It's worse.
Right.
All the things that we kind of keep coming back to, that you're, uh, willing to say, it's going to take longer. You're willing to say this is a all the
Yeah.
sorts of things, or even send them to another chiropractor who might do a better job. Those sorts of things.
I think the relationship, at least the way I feel in my office, the relationship was based on, I'll say mutual respect, but it's more than that. I think it was based on the fact that my heart and what I wanted to do for the patient, I spoke it out loud. I wanted them to get healthy, stay healthy so that they could live longer, take care of their kids. And they trusted because I was bold enough and outrageous enough to tell them exactly what it is that I wanted to do for them. On the very in the very first couple of minutes of the consultation. I told them that although I was not going to ignore their symptoms, that wasn't what I was going to do. That my plan was this, and I had the balls to step up in the first minute and say, yeah, I know you have symptoms and I can appreciate them and I don't want you to have them. Here's why they're there, but this is what I want to do for you, period.
And
And
that's what
then
leaders
hold to
do.
that the whole time. That's the relationship that I wanted to have with the patient. Um, what followed from that? Well, I think they were more willing to stay when the symptom didn't go right away. You guys are the same way. I'm not saying anything you don't know.
Right.
Um, and that's transformational. Transactional is we're going to see you 3 times a week, and if the symptom goes away, we'll drop it back, and you know, poof, they're gone, right?
Right.
Or we'll see until your insurance runs out,
Yeah, yeah,
which happens a lot. Now, unfortunately, and if you want to get people to choose lifetime chiropractic care, they have to have a reason why. If they
yeah.
have a big enough reason why, they'll find the how.
Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes I feel like I beat this big drum called chiropractic principle all the time. And then, it seems like the same old thing all over again. And the reality is, I did that for 40 years in the office and it was really successful. It's the truth, right? It really is.
well, that's the bedrock of what chiropractic is based
Yeah.
upon, is the
Yeah.
principle.
Look, Terrence
And
has all these kids and they all got adjusted and they didn't see a medical doctor. Same with me, same with you. I mean, it's the life we live. Mm. And sometimes well, it gets frustrating, when you watch these young people on line that talk about you don't doing a workshop once a week, that half hour is a waste of time and takes time away from your kids. And I'm like, it's a half an hour on a 28-hour work week, What are you talking about? You know, I don't know.
You have all of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to spend with your kids.
Yeah,
Exactly. What's an
yeah,
extra
yeah.
30 minutes
Or
to
or how or how
put
about
in
the
patients?
Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings that you're not working or the 3-hour lunch periods? I mean, but
Well, I mean, again, the transformation, like anything, is an evolution, right? And most they're not, they're not in a group, they're not talking,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're not exploring themselves, they're
Yeah.
not curious about all three, science, art, philosophy.
Mhm.
They're not curious about, balancing the business with the philosophy or, with the technique or, not curious to talk to other chiropractors about, how they've transformed their practice or, and, so many chiropractors are not willing to really, I always say, tell the truth, that fallacy of, oh, I was seeing 100 a week and then I ran one ad and now I'm 1,000 a week, or whatever. Everybody omits, the challenge in between the the sacrifice or the shedding or whatever it might be and how they're transformed, um, what it takes. And again, then a lot of people don't want to put in that much effort to transform themselves. So it's in some ways it's easier to be transactional because it's just follow these
Yeah.
seemingly follow these steps. They think that it's easier. Um,
Is it though?
I disagree, but
Me too.
they're and they're just churning in this group that keeps telling them that just keep doing those things, just keep doing those things.
Do you find that
Nobody's really connecting.
people that are transactional are the ones that are hopping from one group to the other looking for either that aha or maybe they're looking for the magic bullet, that one thing that's going to make them transformational or
I think there's a handful of people doing that. I actually think there's a whole bunch of them that they don't even make the effort to jump from one group to another.
because they're
They're either in no group or learn one set, one skill set and just keep doing that. On the whole, the bulk of the profession is probably not even exploring one group,
right.
unfortunately. And then, the bulk is in these tiny, tiny little groups, of these coaching, right? Small coaching clusters of 30 to maybe 100 people. That would be generous and not. But and again, in that same bubble, I've said a few weeks ago that it's good. It's good chiropractic speak, right? Yeah, they should listen to us. Yeah, we're going to change. And yet, but what's the action step? And then
Yeah.
nobody wants to do the action step, or even like you that said, Brad. It's like, well, yeah, look at your fees and go, all right, if you're $60 or $70 an adjustment, how many families of four are going to come once a week and pay that? It's you,
Yeah.
zero, arguably zero. That's $1,000 a month.
Right.
You're going to have, it's going to be, oh, we can do mom, right? Or we can do dad, right? Whatever it might be. I mean, so how, those are all, you know, questions that should be addressed.
They
And
should.
it's not. And the same thing. We're not getting enough families. And if you're not getting families, you're not transforming enough lives. Um, right? Generational impact of chiropractic, which is what was had for years, excuse me, years and years and years.
So what does that look like in an office? Somebody that's thinking generationally and trying to create this epigenetic line of chiropractic kids, 4 or 5 generations. What does that office look like? You know,
Yeah.
I
Controlled chaos.
chaos, right?
Controlled chaos. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. You got
Yeah.
people everywhere, kids everywhere running around.
Looks like
You
a
got to be
goddamn,
ready for some of that.
yeah.
And you got to be ready. You got to be ready for people to say, "Hey, listen, I can't afford your fees."
Yeah.
And so you have to have a system of handling those people. We always said that we want to stay in fair exchange. And fair exchange for a CEO of Walmart versus somebody that works as a stocker at Walmart is different. Now that doesn't mean you have different fees, but you have different ways of approaching their care programs and,
Yeah,
and
you
getting
can't
and
have,
getting them under care. They may not be able to afford 3 times a week for a
there's a
year.
way to do that.
There is a way to do that. Absolutely. You
Yeah.
don't
I
give it
did
away.
it
I
for
think
you.
that's why box on the wall, the DE philosophy was we never refuse care to anybody because of their financial ability, their condition or financial ability to pay, which is really good. But if you're just putting a box on the wall, then we don't stay in fair exchange.
Yeah, and there is some truth to when Reggie and my uncle were first practicing, their overhead was nothing compared to what ours is. So box on the wall doesn't it's not going to work nowadays. We have associates that want bigger pay. Our overhead's huge compared to what there was. But I can say emphatically that you can see a lot of people and have a pretty set fee schedule and have a great DVA, have a great PVA, and see a whole lot of people change lives.
And that's what's being transformational is all about. We talk about there are 4 things we expect from the patients. They have to stay, they have to pay, they have to get well, and they have to refer.
You have to refer.
That is the fair exchange that we
Yeah.
give for our adjustment. And you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
put a price on an adjustment, but as you said, Terrence, if you're charging 60, $70 of an adjustment and then throw on top of it all the ancillary stuff and charge the patients for that, you're not going to get lifetime family care. And
I
that's
think you,
that's where it becomes transactional and not transformation.
Brad just called 6 kids ancillary stuff.
No, I was
I
talking about
know, I'm just messing with you.
EMS,
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
No,
selling
I,
look
essential
at
oils and pillows and things
yeah.
like that.
I used to think about my office as like I did. I had this visualization of a stagecoach. If you stood back and looked at my office, there was dust flying and spit coming out of the horse's mouths, and there was 6 horses and just absolute chaos headed in one direction. But there was one guy sitting in the seat with leather reins in his hands, holding everything together.
right.
That's the doctor, right?
That's
No matter
exactly.
what was going on, man, you pull on that left, you pull on the right, you pull on both of them, you let them go. And I know Terrence's office looked the same way. I'd have doctors come in and they would be like, "What? What is go?" I'd say, "How many do you think people you think we saw this morning?" They'd say, "I don't know, 20, 30." It'd be like 105 and 2 new patients. And they'd be like, "Wow, I didn't, they didn't see it, right? Therein lies the rub. They didn't see it,
Right.
right? My hope was when they left that they walked out of there and went, I can do that. But you better have a big reason to do that, right?
Well, that's it. If
Yeah.
you got
Well,
to have
I
a big
had
enough line.
lots of people say they could do that.
Yeah, right.
And I would always say, well,
Please,
would you go and do
please.
that?
Yeah.
But same thing that even at that point, that's like playing pickup basketball with Michael Jordan, and
Yeah,
he
right.
he pumps in 35 and it looks easy, but you don't see the work that went into it to
Sure.
transform him to that
Sure.
person. And again, the willingness to do that, um, and the constant exposure and discussion of that,
Yeah,
with
the work.
chiropractors, that they're not seeking that out. And
Mhm.
it's just like I've told you guys that there's nobody talking about it, serving more people. Now, again, Mike, you started it with it. They're talking about see fewer people, work fewer hours, charge way more. And that's
Transactional.
the mantra. that's the mantra, and
I
that
know, I
just
hear it.
forces it into transaction. And you, and even like we said, you're looking for those few that will do it, and kind of keep, how do you keep in front of those few and get, so even like
Yeah, right.
your patient down at Sherman, how do you keep talking to him, to keep
Hmm.
exposing him, and or the people around him, that they don't get soiled by transactional, or are led through transactional chiropractic to transformational chiropractic. That's a fair, it's a fair
Yeah.
journey. It should be part of the journey, because that's probably how you're going to learn uh, right hand, left hand.
You are going to learn the policies and the procedures and the things of that nature. The transactional people are very good at that.
Hmm.
Nice to learn that skill set from them. It
Yep.
really is.
And
Uh,
But
that requires a different mindset and practice too, because you're always looking for new patients. Because you're not creating lifetime patients with those transactional policies and procedures. If you want to transform people's lives and transform society, think back to BJ's stories about it's just a little thing. And you realize that if you want that to happen, it has to be beyond the money. It has to be more than that. It has to be changing the world. And that comes from inside out, just like
yeah.
everything else.
right, that's true. That is true. Well, I think we're kind of, you circle back. It's like how do they? So even I was going to
Yep.
say, even looking at the neurology, when I did the neurology, I was still looking at it as from a transformational eye, of not, because a lot of guys who did it then would see their practices suffer, because they would end up feeling like they had to add all
Yeah.
the ancillary
Yeah.
things, as opposed to what I learned was the most transformational thing we could do was adjust them, and we could have these tools. That's how I looked at the neuro,
Yeah.
to say, oh, I can use these to adjust this person better, might be
Mhm.
to to expose to expose their subluxation,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
through their neurology, and then reduce it, with a good adjustment, and then you see their lives transform. You see it taken, and to me, like, the neurology was transactional in the sense of it was so science heavy, right? But it was the tool to say, no, this is how we're going to transform uh,
Sure.
your life. So Brad, it takes looking through that eye all the time, and you only get that when people are talking about it all the time, and we just don't have that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really it's really lacking,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and people are afraid to talk about it. That's what I found in this group I'm in. They're afraid to talk about it, because they're going to have to look themselves in the eye,
Right.
in the mirror. I'm sorry, in the mirror, and say, I'm transactional, not transformational."
You
And
know
most,
what? That's not a bad thing because at least they know what they're not doing, right? And there's
agreed.
hope.
Agreed.
There's hope there, right? There's hope there that someday the switch flips and off they go. Whereas there are a lot of people that don't. There are a lot of chiropractors that don't even know.
No,
Or
most.
care,
Yeah.
Well,
or
yeah.
care. They
Well,
just,
they can't care, because they don't know.
Yeah, they
They don't
don't
even
know.
know. They
Yep.
don't even know about transformational. They don't even know.
Yeah, yeah. You say
and I
the
think the
power that made the
schools are
body
getting
heals the
further
body,
and
and they
further
think
away
that's
from
a
that too.
what's that?
The schools are getting further and further away from that.
Yeah. Well,
Correct, because it's a business.
yeah.
It's the
They
same
have a
thing.
bottom line, right? They have to appeal to the
We don't have
the
any,
numbers.
we don't have any transformational leaders at the colleges anymore. They're
Yeah.
all businessmen. We don't have any transformational leaders of ICA for all the stuff going on with that, or the FC, or the board, NBC, whatever.
Hmm.
It's all transactional, because everybody's looking at it as, I'm going to get mine. What's
Yeah.
in it for me,
I
right?
do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do know that we don't have the as many good leaders as we should. There's one or two out there that's fighting the fight.
Agreed. Agreed.
Jack Borla is fighting the whole national board being held in Colorado thing. So he's stepping up and speaking. I don't know.
Yeah, McCoy is doing it. That Matt McCoy,
Yeah.
he's keeping it in front of people's eyes a little bit. So no, I agree. There are some, and I
Not
think
not like there used to be though.
no, no, there's nobody up. There's not enough people up in arms about it. The students aren't up in arms about it.
Yeah. Do you think?
Should be,
They're
they're
the
the
ones
ones
who
that are
should be
paying
up in
for it.
arms.
Yeah, I think most of the students don't know any different, right? I got this kid down the street here who I met at my local brewery. He's been working behind the, I might have said something to you guys about this, I don't remember. But I'm having lunch and a beer, the kid works. I mean, I see him work in two different restaurants. That's why I had struck the conversation. And he goes to Salisbury. One day I said, "So what are you going to Salisbury for?" And he looked at me and said, "I want to be a chiropractor." My brother-in-law sitting next to me almost fell off his stool. He
Huh.
was like, "Well, you're talking to the right guy." So I started the conversation with this young man, and you know me, I'm like you guys. I'm like, "Here's my phone number. Here's the book that I wrote. Why don't you come out to the house? We'll get you adjusted." It's never been adjusted. Has no idea. I said, "Well, why do you want to be a chiropractor?" And he said the right thing. He said, "Because I want to help people." Right? So, okay, I'll start from that premise. Right? That's a great premise to start from. Not been adjusted, doesn't know the principal. And he's a senior graduating in May and has not even looked at a chiropractic college yet. Wouldn't it be nice if we could get them all that young and early
Right.
and at least push them in the right direction?
Right.
Why did he decide to be a chiropractor? We haven't gotten that far yet. But maybe we need to,
That's again is what's their why, and is it because their high school counselor told them that they're going to make a good living at
yeah,
it,
I think
or
that's the majority of the time. That's the why, right? Want to be a doctor, right?
yeah,
Fortunately, that's not the same for this kid. I've come to find out his father was a PhD. He was a scientist at NASA. He won an Emmy for some documentary. The kid is flush, money wise. He just wanted to be in a profession that helped people that wasn't medicine. I'm like, okay,
that's a start.
hop on
There.
my back. Let's go. Right?
Right.
So,
That's
yeah.
good.
Wouldn't it be nice to put out an ad for those types of kids, right?
And
Right.
then they get to chiropractic school and are told you're going to be sued, you're going to get audited,
You're going to
cause
fail.
strokes. They put so much fear into the students, the future doctors. No wonder they come out
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
developmentally delayed.
Yeah. And all those things, being sued, being audited, they all make you stronger and a better chiropractor,
I agree.
right?
And you got to be you can't be afraid to adjust.
Oh, hell no.
That's one of the biggest things that I've noticed with these peak students that I've had, and associate doctors coming in, they're afraid to adjust. They don't learn how to adjust and they're afraid to. And
Yeah. Oh,
that's why they end up turning to um,
a little clicker thing in a holster.
non-hands-on adjusting and
That was
all
me.
those ancillary services, because that's the way they think that that's how they're going to get the patient better, when all the patient really needs is a well analyzed and well um, uh, provided adjustment,
Yeah.
and just get out of the way.
Yeah, you're right.
yep,
Don't get me wrong. I love my activator. I was making a joke.
they
You know,
were
they're
they were
afraid to adjust. And I said they're walking around with a little clicky thing in a holster.
right.
You know?
You know, hey, it's nice to have like I always said, I had aces, kings, and jacks as far as my adjusting went. And then I had the other, the nines and the tens, and they might
Sure.
have been SOT blocks or activator or whatever.
We
But
see
Yeah.
in the way that most students are taught is that that's your toolbox. That's your toolbox. The way they're
yeah,
taught is the adjustment is just part of the toolbox that you use with rehab
right.
and modalities and uh, all these other things other than focusing on the adjustment. I think that's where subluxation centered chiropractic is
There you go.
needs to be focused on is because that's what you're doing. Is you are your goal is to reduce the interference so the connection between the brain and the body is restored. And then get out of the way and let innate do its thing. That is the gist of chiropractic, but unfortunately, it's not it's not the fancy thing. It's not the new shiny toy that you can go out and buy and convince people to pay for.
Right. Oh, I hear you.
No, the solution is simple. Yep. Get
Yep.
adjusted
Get
over and over,
adjusted.
over and over. So,
I can walk in the office with a vest and a tie on. I can walk in the office with a white coat on. I can walk in the office in a polo shirt. I can walk in the office in I'll say my pajamas, which that's what I refer to as scrubs. You know, these guys who work in scrubs. You know, I can walk in the office in pajamas. It wouldn't matter what I wore. I would still see the same amount of people and make the same amount of money. Because the important thing for me, for all of us, was I had these two things that I adjusted people with that had a reason and a purpose behind them, plain and simple, right? No matter what I wore, and I had a mouth that expressed that, right? So,
We always say
yeah.
the problem's in the mind, not in the spine.
yeah.
You have
Mhm.
to change their
So,
mind.
and I thought about this because when I was just reading some stuff and taking some notes. So if I have a good set of hands and a good purpose and a vision, and I was a dentist, could I be transformational? If I was a physiotherapist, could I be transformational? If I was a um, acupuncturist, could I be transformational? Yes, I
Yes.
could, you know? And I think if I'm any of those things and I'm transformational, uh, then I am so busy I have to figure out how to see the people coming through the door.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. Be transformational as a husband, as a father, as a son, as a
yep,
brother, as a
yep,
chiropractor.
yep,
They're all connected.
yep, I believe so.
Yep.
Mm, cool. So I love you
Good.
guys.
Love you too. I'm transformed by you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm transformed by you guys. Who
Amen to
was that?
that.
Yeah, did I send you guys this thing or did you send it to me? I can't remember. Who packed my parachute?
Who
Good
what?
stuff.
Huh?
I haven't seen that.
You didn't get it? Okay, I'll
No,
send it to you.
Okay.
You
that was
guys
good.
pack my parachute every day. I appreciate y'all.
Thanks. That
Yeah.
was a good one. No, that was sorry I didn't get it to you, Brad. I was like hitting buttons and trying to
That
get
was
it.
that. That came with the annual turkey picture.
I got the turkey picture.
Okay.
Maybe I missed the
Yeah.
link to that too.
Yeah. Thanks for sending it, Mike.
Yeah, man, I tell you, okay. The deboned, deep fried turkey, all my kids went to that the rest of the weekend before they went to the other turkey. And the other turkey was delicious. It was just different,
Right.
new. I'll be doing it again.
You
Excellent.
send a video on the deboning process or
Yeah.
It wasn't hard.
I think you should start a business. I'll order two right now.
No, it's too much work. I'd rather
I was
adjust
going to say that
800
means he's
people.
got to go back to work.
Yeah, right. Nope, nope. I'd rather, if I'm going back to work full time, I'm going back and slinging spines.
Ah,
Yeah.
You transform that turkey.
Yeah, I did. All right.
and then ate it.
I
That's the
got it.
transaction. All right, guys. Thank you much. Good talking to you. We'll speak in a couple weeks.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
Adam.
Chief.
Happy holidays.
Happy.